I was around, oh gosh, 5 years old when I got my first introduction to gardening. And my grandmother, we stayed with my grandmother. My mother had left my father. We traveled from Memphis, Tennessee to Illinois via Greyhound bus. And we lived in the back room of my grandmother's house for approximately about a year. And my grandmother had this huge garden. I later found out that it was left to her when they purchased the house. They had this garden that was there set up for them, and she would wear her hat. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I know she had her long sleeve blue jean like shirt, and she would wear her long pants, and she would carry this white bucket, this 5 pound white bucket, and she would go out there. And one day, this something about this day, and I watched my grandmother as she came out of her garden into the backyard. So the backyard led to the garden, right? And so she came out, and I just watched her, and she had this 5 pound bucket. And I knew she had something in it. And we were playing, but my eyes were like stuck on her in this 5 pound bucket. And then as she got closer, she said, "Do you guys want some grapes?" And we were like ecstatic. I think we kind of basically almost tackled her. We're running towards her, say, "Yes, yes, yes." And she's like, "Go wash your hands." And so we wash our hands. So, if you recall back in the day, they had this, it would be, and they still have it now, but we had this oh gosh, water spout that we could wash our hands. That was back in the day when my grandmother actually used to wash clothes on hand, using the bucket and how the washing machine was, etc. But we went in and washed our hands, and I tell you, we grabbed, she said, "Okay, get you some grapes." And we grabbed the grapes with our hand, and I started eating the grapes, and just it was this perfect explosion of sweet and sour in my mouth. Like my taste buds were on like extravaganza. They were on just a fun ride. They were, if they could speak, oh my gosh, that's so good. And just mouth just watery and just excited to take in this grape. And then I started just kind of peeling back the layers and just really mesmerized by this green glob, and I would eat the grape, and it was just so delicious. I At that point, I didn't realize that something so small, so great, could come out of a garden, that we could plant it, right? And so my fascination for gardening started at a very young age with something very good. And I would always, I remember going shopping, grocery shopping, and I would buy grapes, and I would hope for the grapes that tasted like that, homegrown. It's amazing what you can get when you sow seeds. And this episode, I want to talk about one of the best parts of parenting is being able to sow seeds, being able to grow something from home. There's nothing like home growth. We can say, or give priority to teachers and principals, the school system, and say, you teach my child, but there's nothing like homegrown. And the seeds that I sow are the life lessons that I learned, at a very young age. And after my personal experience with pain, I wanted to become a student. I wanted to learn from my experiences and learn from others. And so life lessons and my ground was so fertile for listening and observing. And I just think about over the years these words that came to me, even from people that may have not said nice things or were part of my experience with pain, as my teachers, they enlightened me. God still used them to enlighten me. The very person that called me, that said I was lying about my experience, is the one that told me to be an observer. And if I had not forgiven her or healed from the inside out, I would have probably missed that message, because it's so important to observe life, to pay attention to words, to actions. As my mother would often say, people can speak with their mouth, they can talk, but it's their actions that you really want to pay attention to. And so life principles, a lot of them I got from my mother. I mean, just, amazed and admired her for having the strength and the courage and the determination to for her children to have a better life than she had. And ultimately, when we talk about create a generational love cycle, when we talk about sowing seeds, life lessons, and sharing those, and being an observer of life, when we talk about that, we're talking about giving our children the best of the best. We're talking about giving them a better life than ours, right? Because you're supposed to get understanding. The Bible tells us to get understanding in the book of Proverbs, and wisdom, and how it gives you a long, healthy life, and how it protects you, and how it helps you to go to sleep at night. When we think about insomnia, and we think about post-traumatic stress disorder, how we can put our experiences in a healthy perspective that allows us to teach from a heart of love, a heart of compassion, a heart of empathy, a heart grounded in truths. That we don't teach our pain, but we have transmuted that pain in so much light that when we talk to our children, we are shining the light on them. We're shining the light on them to remember who they are, to remember they are a spirit, that no experiences define them. Remember that they have within them the ability to transcend their experiences, the ability to see things as they are, to see the hearts of people, to see clearly, not what your circumstances are, but what you're capable of doing, to see the possibilities and the impossible. When I talk about sowing seeds of virtue, or when I talk about sharing my mother's life lessons, that's what it's ultimately is getting to, is love. How can we share love with our children? How can we sow seeds that bring out the best in them, to bring out the sweetness, the light, that add more flavor to the world? When we teach them that they are here for reasons, that God didn't make a mistake, that they have within them the truths within their heart and mind, that they have specific gifts and talents, experiences, that all of that intertwine to bring out the best in them. I mean, how wonderful is that? To help our children. That's one of the things that I wanted when I was going through my cycle of when I was experiencing pain, is that I wanted to help people feel good from the inside out. I wanted them to understand that it's not about the external that will give you the good feeling, but the internal, to lay that groundwork early on. So they're not looking outside for cigarettes, for alcohol, for drugs, for sex, for any external things to give them temporary comfort, but the type of comfort they can go inside and say, okay, why is my life this way? What do I need to do on the inside? How can I take care of this body that is here as my vehicle for my message, so that I can continue to enjoy the fruit of my labor? All of the things that you think about, the insomnia, the being overweight, being underweight, the poor self-image, the lack of self-esteem, the lack of trust and confidence in ourselves, teenage pregnancy, gun violence, homicides, suicides. All of those have an internal causation before we see it on the external. And so the seeds we sow are ones that just saying, praising them for doing a good job, for passing their tests. My daughter today, she passed her science test, and just really speaking with her, and I could see the light coming out of her, and her wanting to go and play the piano. What more can our children do when we encourage them, when we praise them, when we tell them that you matter just as you are? You don't have to be anybody else. Just do you, as my husband would say. And so it is a Friday. It is January the 26th, 2024. And it is also a day that I say that we get rid of these negative thoughts inch by inch, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, that we assess our internal garden, our inner garden. And as parents, what is it that we need to get rid of? What is it that we've allowed to sprout within us? These weeds that often can drain, they can rob the nutrients of the good seeds that are in us, the seeds of happiness and joy and forgiveness and peace, inner peace. What have we allowed to permeate our soil? The rocks that are preventing nourishment from seeping within us, from being getting down in our soul. The sunlight, the light, the nourishment, the fertilization of love. We think that there's still a thought out there that if we just give our children the nice clothes, if we just give them, the money and the cars and the houses, that they will be okay with circumstances that do not feed them from the inside out. They will be okay with bullying. They will be okay with teachers demeaning them and saying derogatory things. They will be okay with hearing you are less, seeds that tell them they are less than, seeds that make them feel like they're imprisoned. When we grow up and we experience these adult issues, these diseases, these illnesses, guess what? Often they are child grown. They are home grown through our actions and our inactions. As a parent, there's nothing to me greater than expressing the love through planting seeds of hope, seeds of a future, seeds of laughter, of comfort. Do we do it all the time? Am I always happy and joyous? No, but I aim to be. I aim to be, because this is a journey. This is a journey for us to express the highest version of ourselves, to really think about what it is that we want to cultivate in our inner garden, to think about what we truly want to cultivate for future generations. This is Timika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycle. Now you know what I think about seeds, the seeds we plant. The seeds we plant can have a lasting effect. They can be destructive or they can be life-giving. You choose, as a parent, as a human being, as a spiritual entity, the seeds that you want to sow, not only within yourself, but also in those that will continue on that cycle. Do you want a cycle of pain, or do you want a cycle of love?